Hi, Mark Lester. I'm the producer and director of Bobby Joe and the Outlaw. Well, originally I was listening to this song called Desperado by the Eagles, and I thought, wow, that's like a good inspiration for a movie. And in fact, originally I called the film Desperado, but I didn't use the song, but it just like inspired me. And about a guy in the Old West, and I thought, yeah, I'll make it period like an Old West movie, Desperado. But then slowly there was another movie called Aloha, Bobby and Rose, which kind of inspired me. And there was one called Baby Blue Marine and Buster and Billy. So these films were kind of like that, and I thought, oh, this is kind of like, and it was part of my trilogy with Truck Stop Women, that I would have these three movies, Steel Arena, Truck Stop Women, Bobby Joe and the Outlaw, Americana kind of films about, like, they really about something else, but you could read into them all kinds of issues about America, like violence and so forth.
That mealy-mouthed, lily-livered sheriff has gone far enough. Do something to put him to shame and get us a reputation.
What, Lyle?
Rob us a bank.
A bank?
Now you're talking.
Christ.
I got the script written. Vernon wrote a really good script, and he had written a truck movie called Deadhead Miles, so he was very good in this kind of like Americana cars and trucks and gangster movie. I had a girlfriend at the time, Mary Lynn, who was in the movie, and I said, go out and look for money, So she was in a bar, and she met this guy who had just sold his record company named Steve Brody. And he says, oh, I want to do it. And there were tax shelters at the time, believe it or not. So, we got his accountant, and he put up the money to make the film, which in those days was a huge budget. If you see the film, you'll see the film. It's widescreen, 185, 35 millimeter, very expensive movie. It would cost $5 million to shoot today. And that's how, we got the money, private investor.
God, I guess we're all in this together now.
Bullshit. What do you mean we? I'm the one that's going to hang, not y'all.
Well, I had seen him in Earthquake and the movie Marjo. So, I knew him, and I thought he'd be like good as this Western character. But, so the funny thing is, fighting with Marjo's agent, because at the time he wanted $10,000, which was back in 1976 was like saying $200,000 today. He wouldn't take the money, and he was like, I was offering less. And so I told the agent, I said, listen, I have my backup actor, and I did, and I said, at 5 o'clock, if he doesn't call and accept the offer, the other actor is waiting to take the part. And I had to tell at 5 o'clock Sylvester Stallone he didn't have the part. So a little bad luck, because I think he probably would have been better.
It's good luck to have family.
Yeah, but don't you think you and I could travel better alone?
Well, we'll just stay one jump ahead of him, that's all.
Linda Carter, well, she was Miss America, and she was on the Bob Hope UFO tours, and I had met her in actually Lou Dressler's acting class, who starred in Truck Stop Women. So it was like people just in the same, groups running around. And Linda Carter's best friend was Deborah Winger, who ended up as Wonder's sister in the Wonder Woman, and then later became a star herself. And that's how I met Linda Carter. And she was young, beautiful, and really good actress. So we read her and made her the star, and she did a great job promoting the film. And she complained later about, the nude scene she did, which at the time wasn't an issue, but later she became a religious person. And there was articles in the National Enquirer saying, Hollywood director forces nude scenes, but none of that is true. So just to set the record straight, it was all up front in the contract, and it was all done that way. In those days, everyone did nude scenes in all of these kind of movies, drive-in pictures, so it wasn't like a big thing.
About $20 that I made on tips last night.
Big deal.
Belinda Belasky, yeah, very exciting, and she played a really whacked-out character, which she had to be, because in the movie she's kind of going along with this gang, always questioning what's going on. She was kind of like the character in Bonnie and Clyde, the Estelle Parsons character, just, going along with this gang, and she played it great.
What's your destination?
Well, we're going to the Young Christians Folk Singers Meet.
Always had a lot of respect for the Lord, lady.
So we, sir.
Marilyn, one of the producers, she was exciting, fun. And the character she developed in Bobby Joe, she went on to use in General Hospital as a character in that. So she played this very ditzy kind of chick, and she actually retained that character in later roles, so that's great.
How come you got to do all the dirty work, Slick?
Hell, I don't mind. I kind of like working on cars.
He was great, I saw him in Macon County Line. He was a great actor, a lot of fun, and I didn't use his brother Alan, but they both were in Macon County Line together.
Now, wait a minute. Money's no excuse because I can offer you credit.
He came in for one day, and he was fabulous. Virgil Fry was great. What happened was, for that scene, I hired Dennis Hopper, who was in Taos, New Mexico living. So I thought, wow, what a great cameo. I'll have him come down. So I actually could get him on the phone, and I said, come down and do the part. Gave him the date. I was there the day of the shooting, like he didn't show up. Virgil, I think, was like visiting somebody, so I threw him into the character, and 2 days later, a convertible drives up, and it's Dennis Hopper, right on the set. Oh, I'm here to shoot. I go, we shot the scene like 2 days ago. Oh, Garrett Graham, yeah, he's terrific. Now, I thought of him because of Phantom of the Paradise, and he was great in that movie, so he was perfect. I was so happy he did it. And he played, again, a different character. They all were very good playing these different characters that they weren't.
It's the old West. Good old days. I'm in a town.
You're in a town.
Yeah.
What's the town?
Town of Lincoln, New Mexico.
Well, I had shot Truck Stop Women in New Mexico, and I loved shooting there, and they had these wide open vistas, because I always had images that I would do like John Ford style movies with these big Western kind of vistas. So, you know, New Mexico turned out to be perfect, and I ended up shooting in Albuquerque, where we had all these great locations. We had the drive-in, and we had, you know, great vistas, and it ends in an Indian reservation, the movie, of which no Indian reservation would let us shoot. The Indians were like completely furious back then at the white men, and they would not allow anybody to shoot on their reservation. I was like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? So we finally, you know, found a church, and we made it look like an Indian reservation by putting up some Indians selling various trinkets around. So it ends at an Indian reservation, but not a real one.
City lights, I miss the city lights.
Well, at that point, I had done a deal with American International to distribute it. So we were looking around. They had a music department. We were looking around for someone to do a song. So originally they wanted Jackson Browne. So he saw the movie, and then he said, oh, I don't want to do a song for it, but we did it. Bobby Bear then did. So that worked out really well. That scene came out of a Billy the Kid book. So what happened was, so Billy the Kid actually lassoed a safe with his horse and then rode out with the safe dragging after his horse. So the movie was kind of transposed from Billy the Kid material that we just made modern day, because he was reenacting the life of Billy the Kid. What we did back then to save money, we were just renting trucks from like Hertz Rental, right? And then we thought, then we'd return them, you know, they're not supposed to get damaged. But we rented this pickup truck, and they're supposed to crash through the candy glass. The art director was supposed to remove all the furniture in the bank, and he didn't. And so it was like all the real furniture. But then when it hit the bank, all the furniture wasn't balsa wood, and it just, the truck was like totally damaged, and we had to return this truck like it was in like a major accident. I had a lot of experience in Steel Arena, where I worked with the Circus of Death car organization, and we crashed hundreds of cars in that movie, in demolition derbies. There was a lot of action scenes. And then Truck Stop Women, there were truck chases. So by Bobby Joe and the L, I was already gotten very proficient at doing action scenes. So it became very useful later on.
I used to stand in front of the mirror, and I'd get all dressed up, and I'd pretend like I was Minnie Pearl at the Grand Ole Opry.
The funny thing is, I ran into Martin Scorsese recently. You know, I said, Martin, I said, you know, they opened, they were all twin theaters at the time. They didn't have like the multiplex 5, 10 theaters, only twins. In 1976, they just had started converting to twins. And I showed up around these twins, and one side was Taxi Driver, I was telling Martin, and the other side was Bobby Joe and the Outlaw. And when I saw a big line around the block, I thought, oh wow, my film's a huge hit. And when I showed up, of course, most of the people were for Taxi Driver. And Scorsese said, it's funny, I went to the same theaters, I saw the line, I thought it was for your movie, I was so nervous. So that was the week that both films opened. All these three films, Steel Arena, the Rolling Stone called it the most original film of the year. They did a host spread. Truck Stop Women, they did a host spread. Bobby Joe and the Outlaw, all three were considered like classics, even at the time. You know, you can't see anything like this anymore. No one would ever make these kind of films. And for the budgets that we had and what we did, completely let free to do whatever I wanted. So they weren't like, there weren't producers or censorship or any issues like that. It was just, you could make a whacked out film and like, you know, and put it out. The sales in these movies, like Bobby Joe and the Outlaw, grossed $5 million in 1976 at the theaters. And that's with charging $1 admission. Whereas today, if you put a movie out and you do $5 million, half these films only do $5 million that are even studio releases. Some of these films do $3, $4 million, they're out of the theaters. Here's a movie in 1976 that could do $5 million in the theaters. The same thing with Truck Stop Women. So that whole type of industry is gone because there was no DVD or VHS at the time, and there was no real TV because there was only 3 networks and they wouldn't play these kind of movies. So you really made all your money in the theaters and there was a big enough market there. That's what's so crazy, how times have changed. But now you can make a movie for the same price as these movies. People are making movies now for $300,000. Same budget as these films were made for. But 300 back then would be like saying 2-3 million today, because the payroll, everything was so much less, and locations were $100 a day. Everything was really cheap.
I got money, Buster. Tell him I got money. I got money, please.
Money don't buy everything, Deputy.
I really hope you enjoy the film. I loved making it. It's one of the favorite films I've made, and it holds up today. People like it. It's super entertaining, and still plays like there's still, you know, people robbing banks and people still making Bonnie and Clyde type movies. So it holds up really well, and I'm really proud of the film. I hope everyone enjoys it.